I gave him a little background on the first topic of the day, so he's ready for the war zone he's about to enter. But we're going to bring in Ross here after a quick word from FanDuel. Guys, the NFL season is halfway through. The NBA season is officially underway, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers on FanDuel can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if they win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download the FanDuel app today and get things started. Ross, welcome to the Thunderdome, my friend. It has been a hot back and forth morning here, and I'm very curious to see where you fall on our first topic, which was, is the Browns' bigger issue a coaching problem or a lack of talent problem?
Oh, good, because I thought I was going to ask about a marble room, which I don't even know what that is, or concert tickets. I hear you guys talking about it. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
When you come with CBS the next time, call me.
Or Westwood One.
We're gonna get you into the marble room, and you will never forget it ever again.
It's a game changer.
It is. It's a 6-star. That's how I explain it.
It's unlike anything Cleveland's ever had.
And it's
what is it? A restaurant?
It's a restaurant.
Steakhouse.
He's got to make sure with marble room. Wait,
hold on.
What goes on in the marble room?
Hold on. I know this is internet.
Ross,
the marble room. That sounds crazy.
Ross,
he was thinking he had to ask.
I mean, you're an offensive lineman. You got to like steak, right?
Of course. Yeah. Listen, I love a good steakhouse. We usually try to go out on Friday nights, whatever city we're in. I actually don't remember. Last year we did that Ravens at Browns game that Jameis came back and won, which was awesome. Yeah. I can't remember where we went. It was good. It wasn't the marble room, but it was good.
Time you're going to the marble room. You call me. Okay. I'll make sure you get a table. Not that you need help, and then I want a full report because you'll never forget this restaurant.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Wonderful.
All right.
Okay.
So who do you what do you think is the bigger problem? Is it the coaching or is it the talent?
No, it's the talent. Yeah, I mean, look, they have their bottom 5, maybe bottom 3 at by far the most important position in the sport, which is quarterback. We all know that. That's been the case for the Browns for the last couple years. And then their bottom 5, maybe bottom 3 at wide receiver. Guys, it's a passing league. That's a bad combo, okay? That's a bad combo. And then to make matters worse, the offensive line, which used to be top 5 and gave them a chance, and which is why they won a playoff game in 2020, and which is why they were still pretty good a couple years ago, the offensive line is not even in the top 10 anymore. I don't even know if they're in the top half of the league. I haven't written it down, but they're not in the top half of the league more than likely. So, and then, by the way, maybe your best position groups, running back and tight end, 3 of those 4 guys are rookies that get the snaps at those positions. Just not a good position to be in. I mean, it's why their offense isn't good and their defense is pretty good. So that's the issue. The goal is that by next year they know who their quarterback is, whether it's one of these guys on the roster now or whoever they draft next year, and that they are on the ascent at that position. Really, really hard to even be above 500 when you're bottom 2 or 3 at that position.
So Ross, for all the angry fans that we hear you talk about the talent, and I agree, the talent has been trash. I've been yelling and screaming at the top of my lungs for 3 years about it. But we say, well, why is it a foregone conclusion that when we ask people, do you think the Browns will make any changes in the front office? Everyone says no. If they're responsible for taking those players and missing and doing things like that, why is it that they can have those deficiencies at receiver and not have talent in the offensive line, and they still are welcome with open arms to come on back in?
I think it's a fair question. Listen, everything stems from the fact that they made a huge bet on Deshaun Watson, and it failed. I mean, there's no way around it. Now, I think what is interesting, and I'm sure you guys talk about it, is to go through some of the other moves they've made. You know, with a guy like Jerry Jeudy, it's okay, you know, maybe he's not worth this, but he's also the best we have, and they haven't drafted as well at that position. It's funny because I would think that Andrew Berry would have been on the hot seat before this draft class. It's almost like he had the excellent draft class just in the nick of time, right? And maybe that was the case with Stefanski in 2023 with the run at the end of the year with Flacco and making the playoffs. Maybe Stefanski would have been out after that, but just when he needed to, he was able to rally and get that team to the playoffs. It feels like Barry had a great draft right when he needed it, which probably buys him another year.
Ross, let's talk about the quarterback situation. It seems like, in my opinion, I think it's a consensus here, Dillon Gabriel's gotten worse each game. I know it's only 4 games, but it's not like he's a first-round pick that is owed a season long of playing. I'm personally ready to see Shedeur Sanders play, and this whole idea that he's not ready, I don't trust the Browns to evaluate whether he's ready or not. I mean, even if he's not ready, who cares? Let's see it. Let's see what he's got now. What do you say to that?
Well, based on everybody I've talked to, it doesn't sound like he's ready. But guess what? I don't think he's going to be ready this whole year. And guess what? He's going to play. I would be very surprised if he doesn't play. The only way he doesn't play is if Gabriel really starts to play well, which, that'd be great for Cleveland if that happened. But they have 9 more games left. And if it keeps trending the way you think it is, Bull, or if Gabriel has some of the terrible turnovers like he did on Sunday in New England, then it will go to Shedeur. It's kind of like the same question when you guys are asking me, when should they go from Flacco to Dillon Gabriel? It's like, I don't know, but I think we'll kind of know when we see it. I think that's the case with Gabriel. Now, I'm a little surprised to hear you say worse every week, and you felt that way in the game against the Dolphins. We could have that discussion. But I do think I would give Gabriel at least a couple more games. I mean, you've given Gabriel 4 games, right? So you think you should give Shedeur 9 games? They obviously like Gabriel more. They took him in the 3rd round for a reason. They didn't even draft Shedeur until the 5th round. It wouldn't really make a lot of sense to me unless Gabriel was bad for Shedeur Sanders to get more games than Gabriel. That, to me, would be illogical. I mean, at that point, then you're thinking, well, then why did you draft Gabriel in the 3rd round if you want to give Shedeur Sanders more games than him? So we'll see. I mean, coming out of the bye, if Gabriel is really bad or has back-to-back bad games, I think they probably will make the move. But I wouldn't make the move after only 4 games for a rookie. And in my opinion, the first game where I really thought he played poorly.
Wouldn't you say, though, like, isn't it possible, and maybe this is crazy, but that they realized what most of us thought to begin with, that drafting Dillon Gabriel was a huge mistake in the 3rd round? Maybe they realized that middle of the season? Or is that not
I don't think they realized that yet, no. Okay. And I think that you guys are being impatient, in all sincerity. I mean, look, on Sunday, I'm doing my 3rd Tennessee Titans game this year, okay? So they played the Chargers. So I've watched a lot of Cam Ward, and Cam Ward definitely has more physical ability than Dillon Gabriel. But if Dillon Gabriel had been a 1st-round pick, you guys would chalk up the Patriots game to, okay, Patriots are good, and he got a little greedy with a couple of those throws, but he hasn't done that a lot. We still believe in him, which is how Titans fans feel about Cam Ward, even though they have not been good at all. But because he's a 3rd-round pick, because he wasn't really who you guys wanted in the 3rd round, you're a lot more likely to move on from him. And I get that. That's natural. But give him the bye. I would say give him a couple more games. If he shows improvement, leave him in there. If he's getting worse, then you probably put Shedeur in. And at that point, Shedeur would still get, 7 games? I mean, that's at that point, if they had 6 for Gabriel, 7 for Shedeur, I think you feel pretty good about where those guys are at. And obviously, pending, whether they keep getting better or worse or whatever.
Ross, I never thought I'd say this or even ask the question, but watching what we're watching every Sunday makes me think that there is a chance that Deshaun Watson could play again for the Browns. Yeah. What say you?
I don't think so. When? This year?
Maybe. If he's healthy, if he's cleared.
No, you know why? You know why they're not going to do that? They don't want. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if it's fully guaranteed. I was going to say, they don't want to do that because they don't want to get hurt. But I guess if they're on the hook for it anyway, you might as well put them out there. I doubt it, Dustin. But
I always doubted
I guess it's not outside the realm of possibility. You know, the issue with that is, and this is a funny thing to say, but it's true. Let's say they gave Gabriel another game or two, then Shedeur gets 3 or 4, and then they would put Watson in there. What happens if Watson really plays well?
Yeah, exactly.
What happens if Watson really plays at a high level? Then are you going into 2026 with Deshaun Watson as your quarterback? I mean, you want to talk about season ticket sales
He's
going
get
down.
Paid a lot of money,
that would
Ross.
not go well.
Wouldn't that be the biggest upset story of all time?
Well, Ross, one of the things that's funny about that is I can't remember a time when an owner, but this is the Browns, they do a first on a lot of different things, but I can't remember a time when I heard an owner say of a player still on the team, still owed about $150 million and still under contract for multiple seasons. I can't remember when an owner came out publicly and said, yeah, that was a pretty big mistake. That was on me.
Well, the Jets just did it last week. He's not owed as much money. But the Jets did the same thing with Justin Fields, and then he played the best game of his season.
Yeah, but I mean, I just can't imagine that after Haslam publicly admits it was a mistake and it's on him.
They're not putting him back out there.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
They're not putting him back out there, Dustin. That would really surprise me. And yeah, the Jets thing. I mean, to have a guy as your starting quarterback and say he can't complete a pass is just so you guys know, every time you think it's bad in Cleveland, and I know it's not good, there are worse franchises out there right now. I mean, think about what it's been like the last 10 years for the Jets. Think about the last 4 years, I think, for the Titans or the Saints. You know, the Browns, I do power rankings every week. They're not even in the bottom 5, which I know is probably stunning for you guys. But I don't think the Browns are in the bottom 5 of my power rankings. I'd have to check.
Ross, we have not sniffed the division. There's only 3 other teams in the division. We haven't won it since '89.
The Browns haven't been to a championship game in over 30 years. Those teams have. Or the Jets have.
Part of the problem is you guys are in a... Well, part of the problem is you guys are in a really good division, and unfortunately, you haven't. This is the year that this would have been the year to try to capture it, which is not going to happen. But with the Lamar injury and the Steelers really aren't that great, I mean, this would have been a good year. In fairness, I mean, listen, I know you want to win the division, and I know you want to go to the conference championship game. I get that, but they won a road playoff game in Pittsburgh, and if my boy from my hometown, Chad Henne, doesn't have that scramble, they probably are in the conference championship game, which would have been amazing a few years ago. But I get it. Listen, there's nothing I can say that's going to make you guys be happy about the Browns. I mean, if you brought me on here to make everybody happy about the Browns, you're giving me a really tough. I'm not getting paid enough for that.
It's an impossible job, Ross. Let me ask you this. I think one of the problems right now, and there are many. How do you evaluate talent at quarterback when your wide receiver core is ranked 32nd in speed, 32nd in separation created, and leads the league in drops, and you have an offensive line that is, as you pointed out, well beyond its prime and among the probably in the lower 10 in the league at least? Like, how do you evaluate anybody in that environment?
Well, it makes it difficult. What you try to do is just isolate the quarterback position. So what does that mean? That means you know what the quarterback is supposed to do on every play. How efficiently is he doing it? You know where the ball is supposed to go against that coverage, against that defense, and maybe the receiver's not that open, but that's still where you want the ball to go. Does he go where the ball should go? Does he put the ball in timing, on time, anticipation, where it's supposed to go accurately? Those are the things you try to do. It's not easy. But I'll also tell you this, like, there's other quarterbacks out there that are just getting their brains bashed in. And I think Stefanski did a good job of not putting, his quarterbacks, in particular Gabriel, in that position where they're just getting hammered 30 times a game. and that does give them an opportunity to succeed. I personally think when Shedeur gets out there that it'll be worse, and it'll look a lot worse, but that remains to be seen. I think, Gabriel has done a pretty good job of getting the ball out of his hands on time. I don't think that'll happen with Shedeur, and I think it'll likely be real ugly in terms of the sack numbers, how many times Shedeur gets hit. I mean, if you guys think it's a tough watch now, I would say strap in for about a month from now.
Ross, it's been an interesting year in college football. We thought we had all these quarterbacks that were going to be these top draft picks and prospects and all this stuff, and yet it really is kind of like flipped upside down with some of the guys we thought were going to be really good. If you're the Browns, are you sitting here panicking, worrying that they're not going to be able to find a quarterback next year in the draft, or will there be somebody that comes out of the woodwork?
I don't think panicking or worrying is the right word, but I would say disappointment. I think if you're the Browns, you wanted as many of these guys to elevate themselves and show that they're top 10 players as possible, right? The Drew Allers, the Nussmeyers, even Arch Manning, even if he wasn't going to turn pro. You want as many of these guys, Lenoris Sellers from South Carolina, to look like big-time quarterbacks as possible. So that's good for you. Even if you have the third pick in the draft or the fourth, and maybe you don't want to have to trade up, with the Titans to get the number 1 overall pick. That hasn't happened. The flip side I would say is there are some other guys, the Simpson kid at Alabama, Dante Moore at Oregon, Mendoza at Indiana, that have played at a really high level. What I think is interesting there, though, is it's like, okay, these guys kind of came out of nowhere to play at this high of a level. Are they really this good? Or if they went back to school like Aller and Nussmeier and the other guys did, would they look bad the next year too? You don't really know that. You have to go by what they're showing you this year. And these guys are going to get a chance to play in some really big games, some playoff games. And I do think, by January, there will be a guy or two that we're all saying, hey, that's the guy. Maybe kind of like Cam Ward last year and what he did at Miami. And then in the pre-draft process, everybody I talked to said it was very clear that Ward was the best prospect they thought. Maybe they can be that guy. The other thing I would tell you is that even if they're not thought of as that guy, I think Jackson Dart can play. I think the Giants have their quarterback for the next few years. I think Jackson Dart was a find for them. So even if these guys haven't become, Dustin, what we thought, they would be, that doesn't mean that they can't still play at a high level and be worthy of taking. Maybe you just don't have to take them with that top 5 pick.
Ross, I'm curious. The way Stefanski and Barry are operating, the way the Browns are operating, makes it feel like they intend to be here next year. Trade away veterans. But if things don't get better on the field, can Stefanski survive this? They went 3-14 last year. They're 2-6 now. They're 5-20 in their last 25 games. Is this sustainable? And can he survive if things on the field don't get better?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, and I do think fan sentiment does play a part in it, especially when they have a new stadium coming and everything that goes along with that. I would say, though, I think the franchises that make decisions based on tickets or fan sentiment, that's a bad cycle that you don't want to be on. Where think about the Titans. They fire the head coach or GM or get a new quarterback every year now. I mean, it's like 5 years in a row. They're on that cycle of blame, cycle of failure. I don't know that you want to do that. My concern, if I'm a Browns fan, about getting rid of Stefanski would be that you then become the Tennessee Titans, who are looking at Mike Vrabel who as the head coach of the 6-2 New England Patriots right now. And that, I do think Stefanski's a good coach. I know some of you guys disagree, whatever. And I think that if you let go of Stefanski, which is fine, I mean, good coaches get let go of all the time. I do believe he'll go somewhere else with a more stable quarterback situation and have really good success. And the likelihood is that you'll hire a coach that's not as good as him. Now, maybe that's worth it. A lot of times fans just want change for change's sake. Fans just want something different. Totally respect it, understand it. I do a lot of sports talk radio in Philadelphia. I get that. But if you're the owner, you really need to try to look at the bigger picture. There's a reason why he was 2-time coach of the year. He didn't just forget how to coach. And I think he's still better than a lot of the other coaches that are out there. And you can see some of it with the record, some of it with what they've done. And so, are you really better off next year with some coordinator that's never done it before, that's an unknown, or are you better off with Stefanski? I would argue Stefanski. We'll see what Haslam does at the end of the year.
Last thing, 30 seconds. Lane Kiffin, will he do well in the NFL if he's given another opportunity? If you're the Browns, would you throw a bunch of money at him?
No and no.
No and no. I would not throw a bunch of money at Lane Kiffin. I would not think that he would do well in the NFL. I don't know that style would go over real well. And listen, he didn't make the college football playoff last year with a first-round pick quarterback and a really good roster. So I think this Lane Kiffin stuff, I know Ole Miss is better than they've been, but they also had a first-round quarterback the last couple of years, weren't able to get in the college football playoff. I would not throw a lot of money at Lane Kiffin, that's for sure.
Ross, I want Zach Taylor out in Cincinnati, too. Get him out, Ross. He stinks.
Well, I can see that after the loss to the Jets, Bull, but their defense is just absolutely atrocious. He pulled the lever of firing Anarumo and bringing in Al Golden. Speaking of bringing in a college coach, as the sought-after guy, and it's been an abject failure. If you give up 500 yards to this Jets offense, the same week the owner says we can't complete a pass.
Yeah.
It's bad in Cincinnati, boys.
And without Garrett Wilson, it was just incredible. All right, thanks.
Do we want to ask him about the Broncos trade?
No,
we know the answer.
Let him go.
We know the answer.
Yeah.
Let him go.
Yeah, we know the answer.
All right, Ross, we appreciate
Let me
you.
go. I can't make you feel better, okay? I'm not a miracle.
We're letting you go.
Yeah. All right, Ross. We'll talk to you
See
later.
you, Ross.
Well,
Thanks,
I'll
Ross.
take,
No one can make us feel better about our lot.
I should have asked him. Should the Browns drafted Jackson Dart?
Yes.
He would have taken
100%
yes,
yes.
100%.
So real quick on the Jackson Dart thing.